Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Last class we discussed Sri Ramakrishna's Gadadhar's powers of observation and imagination, and both these powers of observation and imagination led to something very remarkable, which is called aesthetic sense. Those who have the power of observation and the power of imagination, usually they develop the aesthetic sense. They will be able to enjoy whatever is artistic. So what is aesthetic sense? You know what is aesthetics? The science of beauty, arts, any form of art. Now what is an art? It is a form to see even in the most ordinary thing something extraordinary. That is called art. So if you have observed some of these beautiful painters and those who are singing ordinary facts of life, but when these people apply their power of imagination, both observation and imagination, then that leads to something extraordinary depths, and this they try to express according to their ability. Now, among the artists, there are two types of people: those who have the technique and those who have the power. Now, who is an artist? That's very most important fundamental point. Who is an artist? An artist is not a person that who just observes something, imagines something, and tries to bring it out, either in the form of painting or poetry, etc. Is a person who becomes one with the aesthetic aspect of any object. A true artist is one who becomes absorbed and becomes one with his imagination. It's a beautiful story. Once Emperor Akbar went out for a walk in a forest. Suddenly he started hearing a most soul enthralling music. So he never heard this kind of music in his whole life. So he went to observe nearby, and he was shocked to find whom did he find? Tansen. So he stood still, and this Tansen went on singing. After some time, he came to outer consciousness, saw Emperor Akbar, and he was feeling a little embarrassed Then Akbar was addressing him and said, Tansen, I pay you so much money, but you never sing for me like this. Then Tansen replied, Jahapana, when I sing for you, I am acutely conscious that I am your paid servant and I have to somehow to please you. But here, I am here only to please Allah, nobody else. And that's why I forget the whole world. There's so much of lesson to be learned in this, that we are here to please the Divine Lord. And there is also a hint here. The hint is, when we sit for meditation, Swami Yatishwan Maharaj used to tell again and again, imagine there is nobody else excepting you and God. And then he used to tell, our minds are restless, naturally thoughts will come of other objects. Says, forcibly drown them in the ocean of Satchidananda. Because if you are thinking of God, He is Satchidananda. So what about any object? According to Vedanta, every object is nothing but, is only God with name and form is called an object, or this world. So, forcibly drown. But the important point is, when you are sitting for meditation, you must feel you are there, God is there, no one else is there. But if you go on thinking, background, keep a little bit of the mind, background noise, what is happening in the kitchen, what is happening in other places, you will not be able to absorb. This is the difference between Sri Ramakrishna's meditation, Holy Mother's meditation, Swami Vivekananda's meditation, etc. So, that being completely one with the object of their meditation, and that requires imagination. And imagination is the one which leads one to become an artist. Now, if I put a question to you, can someone be an artist who doesn't have the power of imagination? Because a man who is without the powers of imagination, and automatically it means he is a man without the powers of observation, he is just a worldly person, a man with these mundane facts and figures, just that much. So let us keep that point in view. We will come to that because we are studying the great master, Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. So again, the idea of Bhava Samadhi comes. Already one incident was discussed, which was Sri Ramakrishna was walking in the fields, and one day he saw it was thick with black clouds. Suddenly a flock of cranes was flowing across, and that sight made him completely unconscious. People thought he was unconscious. Now, becoming unconscious could be due to fits, due to some kind of physiological problem, or it could be because a person has become separated from his identity with the body and mind. So, how to know? How to know? Because a fit, it is a disease, it makes a person weak and lifeless, unhappy, sad. But a person who is absorbed in God, when he comes out of that state, what do you think will be the effect of it? Tremendous joy will come because nothing else matters here. Whatever happens in the outside world, that doesn't affect a person. This is the test of true spiritual progress. The more we progress, the less anything that happens, good or bad, affects us in this world. That's very important. Now, Gadadhar was 7 years old. The child's sweet nature developed. Everybody loved him more and more. This is a very important point because usually our reaction to anybody else is we love our own people, however bad they are, and we do not love anybody else, however good they are. So, what does that show? That shows it is not, we do not love anybody or we do not hate anybody. But if we love or hate anybody, dislike anybody, it depends upon only one sense. What is that? Are they mine or are they not mine? If they are mine, even if we become blind, even if they have got 150 faults, we become blind. So for spiritual persons, this is the biggest bugbear. So what Sri Ramakrishna calls Ami, Amar. I and mine. That mine becomes a minefield. You remember it. Mine becomes minefield. An important point is I and mine need not go together. In a saint's case, I is there, but mine is not there. In our case, I is there and also mine is there. Which is prominent among these two? That is what it transfigures our I in innumerable ways. That is called worldliness. Okay. Now, very important point has come. This Durga Puja time has come. Gadadhar's father, Shudiram, he had his nephew, Ramchandra, at Medinipur. He was a lawyer. He was earning very well. And he used to celebrate Durga Puja every year with great pomp. And Kshudiram used to be invited. And the Kshudiram loved his nephew. And the nephew also loved his uncle. So without him, Durga Puja cannot be really performed. So he invited this year also, when Gadadhar was 7 years old. Then what happened, we all know. Very briefly I will mention. Kshudiram was debating, should I go or should I not go? And then he decided, I am getting old and I am becoming frail. So if I don't go now, who knows, I may survive, I may not survive. Some kind of sense was there, he may not live for long. So he thought, anyway, and his heart was also tugging at giving up the company of Gadadhar. Here is a wonderful point. Every parent loves his or her children. But Kshudiram's attraction for Gadadhar, was it merely because he was his son or was something more? Just imagine how much Sri Ramakrishna's presence in the whole village. Everybody, just now I read, everybody loved him more and more and more. But they were thinking, he is a very lovely child, sweet child, and that is why we love him. This is their explanation to themselves. But then why is he loved so much? Why was... there is a special attraction of a divine being, and this I have to refer to. I referred so many times. In Bhagavatam, there is this issue. So Brahma, he doubted Krishna's incarnationship. So he wanted to test, is he really God? So if he is God, he must have special power. So what happened one day when Krishna, along with his companions, went to the forest to graze the cows, cows and friends. Then Krishna was out for some time. Then Brahma came and hid the companions of Krishna, the cows in a cave, sealed, and went away. Krishna came and he understood this Brahma's mischief. So he assumed the form of his companions and the cows. And Bhagavatam goes into ecstasy trying to describe the effect of this. That day, previous time, the mothers were praying to God again and again, let our children come as late as possible. But that day, they were going in and out. Why is not my child coming? Why is not my cow coming back. He is not, they didn't understand. Again and again, their hearts were beating fast. What happened to our children? This is something absolutely unknown before. So their children came. Oh, that day they could not hold themselves apart. They have to rush and embrace, and the more they are embracing, they are feeling. That day, the cows were giving more milk. The cows were the cows were running after them. Who was running after whom? Krishna was running after himself. So, like this 6 months passed, and every day these mothers could not bear the separation. They would reluctantly give leave to their children to go out for grazing. Previous days, they used to tell, "Arey, it is already so late, why don't you go?" There is a reason for that. So, like this, days were passing, and the cows were giving more and more and more milk. The whole day seems like Vasantotsava, spring festival. 6 months passed as though it is a holiday time. And then Brahma, after 6 months, I am not sure whether it is our 6 months or his 6 months. So he came and he found everything was going on as usual. Then he rushed into the cave and they found everybody was there. And again he rushed out. Again everybody was there. The boys were there, and then he understood. This Maya is possible only for God. So he fell at the feet of Sri Krishna and he hymns Bhagavan Krishna. Very marvelous hymn is there. Brahma's Stuti to Bhagavan Krishna. So that was the phenomena that was taking place or being reenacted. The more Gadadhar was growing, the more the village people, women especially, started loving. We will come to that Leela, what Sri Krishna did. In a miniature scale, Gadadhar had shown how what is called Rasa Leela and other things. We will come to that later on. So this was the explanation. Now we are going back. Bhava Samadhi, the first time he saw these beautiful black clouds and he fell unconscious. So we discussed another point. What was it? If it was fit, illness, then the person becomes what is called Nirananda, unhappy, as well as his bodily weakness, everything is seen. Whereas here, he was bubbling with joy and he told his worried parents, this is not a fitness, and he was more than joyful all the time. So that's an important point. If we come out of meditation, should we be more joyful than before we went for meditation, or what? Because we are thinking of God who is Ananda Swarupa. That should be a hint for us. So we have to tell, I am going to meditate on God who is the Ananda Swarupa. So you say, Ananda is okay, but death can come and snatch. No, God is deathless. And so long as I am in God, I am also deathless. That should be Sat and Chit and Ananda. Sat means I am deathless. Chit means this idea should be prominent in our meditation. And you become joyful because that is the greatest security anybody can think. When you are with God, when we are with God, what danger can come to us? It cannot come. But Gadadhar was enacting Naralila, and this is a lesson for us. So what happened? They are talking about Kshudiram had a nephew called Ramchandra. He used to celebrate Durga festival with great pomp, and this year also he invited Kshudiram, and Kshudiram was debating whether to go or not. Finally he decided that he would go probably for the last time, and he was absolutely right. Only problem was with whom he should go. So he was thinking, I will take Gadadhar because I cannot live without Gadadhar. But then he thought, his mother will not be able to live, without him. So he decided to he took Ram Kumar and he went there, and just before Durga Puja, and there he fell severely sick and he was almost unconscious. The Vijayadashmi, the 10th day, is called the immersion day. Now what happens, if this any kind of tragedy means death happens during the festivity time, then in Hindu families there is a this tradition, belief that no Shubhakarya, auspicious activity should take place. You see the point? So it will stop the festival itself. And this is not one-day festival. This is a 5-day festival. Shashti, Saptami, Astami, Navami and Dashmi. 5-day festival. Actually, a festival in many places is 9 days. And so it is called Navaratri. Divine Mother is worshipped with 9 different names, 9 different forms of Kumari, and that is why it is called Navaratri, Nava. But traditionally in Bengal, they do it only in the Bodhan. It is Shashti. Yesterday was called Bodhan. Bodhan means awakening the Divine Mother. It's a wonderful idea. We might discuss it later on. So the 10th day came. Kshudiram was almost unconscious. Then somehow the immersion had taken place. That means God will not create any obstruction in the devotee's joy. And then Ramchandra, his nephew, got news that he was very serious, and he rushed back, and Kshudiram was almost unconscious. Then he was not speaking. Then the Ramchandra, his nephew, asked him, "Uncle, you used to be so repeating God's name, why are you not repeating?" Then Kshudiram gathered all his strength. He was conscious. Said, "Ramchandra, is it you? Make me sit down." And he made him to sit down. And then clearly he uttered 3 times, "Raghuvir, Raghuvir, Raghuvir," and gave up the body. So the point we have to discuss, he was such a great devotee. His life itself is the greatest model for any householder. He was a true Brahmana. Who is a true Brahmana? The highest ideal of Hinduism is to become a Brahmana. Everyone must become a Brahmana. So why Hinduism had divided people into 4 categories? Shudra, it is 4th class, then Vaishya, then Kshatriya, and then Brahmana. So people later on, it is true, socially, these people have been almost made as untouchables and were terribly mistreated. And Swamiji came and remedied that. Swamiji means Sri Ramakrishna came and remedied it. There are wonderful incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna where he did not make the slightest distinction, even though he was the highest type of Kulina Brahmana, he was called. You know, Brahmins also are divided into roughly 2 classes, Kulina and Akulina. An ordinary Brahmana who becomes a cook, who becomes a worshipper in the temples, these puja called pujari, these are looked down as a lower type of Brahmanas. But Kshudiram and some people like that, they are called Kulinas, means very pure character. But later on it became so much degenerated. We will not go into that. The point is that he lived the highest type of Brahmana's life. So that is where Hinduism, when it divided people into 4 categories, is it to oppress them, suppress them? No. So the caste system, it came into, from a spiritual point of view, what is called, if a person is very tamasic, then that tamasic person is called a Shudra. If he is admixture with tamas as well as a little bit of rajas, that person is called a Vaishya. And when a person is having more rajas and less tamas, he is called Kshatriya. And when a person has more sattva and less of rajas and still less of tamas, he is called a Brahmana. So our Hinduism, it divides people into these four categories, not for degrading them, but not for giving certain privileges, but it is for the sake of bringing everybody into the evolutionary scale. So you realize you are in this at the lowest step. You have to go to the next step until one becomes a Brahmana. So there is a beautiful shloka which says, Janmana jayate Shudraha. Everyone is a born Shudra by birth. Samskarat dvija uchyate. When this person is trained, Yajnopavita means, very interesting. When a Brahmin gets this sacred thread, and previously even women used to get sacred thread, they were called Brahma Kumaris or Brahmavadins. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we get this Gargi, Maitreyi, Katyayani, and so many several others. This later on, what is called people with wrong motives, it became a family affair now. It became a birth affair instead of guna. And then these people started to suppress certain types of people, and based upon the color of their skin. Black color means, usually black color means the lowest caste. One who is an Arya is supposed to be very fair color, because usually they used to live in the Kashmir and upper regions of the Himalayas. Climate makes a person's skin color. So like Africans, they are very, very black, kinky hair, etc. Now the point is, the caste is never given by birth. According to Bhagavan Krishna's teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, caste is determined by two factors only. What are those factors? Guna and karma, qualities and the type of activities one does. So guna means what here? Sattva guna, rajo guna and tamo guna. A person who has got the highest type of sattva guna, he is called a Brahmin, just we explained. So this division is like a ladder. So each person is expected to go up gradually, maybe in several lives, but that is the central idea. But later on, it became degraded in the hands of selfish people with ulterior motives to get power and position. That happens everywhere. Even in UK, people are divided into two classes, upper class and lower class. You see, there was one author called P.G. Woodhouse. He has written a lot of books, all about poking fun at these stupid fellows. They have plenty of money, but no brains. Okay, coming back, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everybody is a Shudra, lowest type of person by birth. Samskarat dvija uchyate. When a person is endowed with, that's why it is called dvija. Dvija means twice born, second time born. And as I mentioned many times, anyone who is initiated, he is a twice born person. So what happens? Samskara comes. He is given a sacred thread. This thread usually consists of 3 strands. So these 3 strands, they stand for a certain symbolism is there, meaningfulness is there. What is it? A person, he will study Rigveda, Yajurveda and Samaveda and absorb those teachings and improve his life. Or he will have control over his gross body, subtle body and causal body. Or he will have control over his thoughts, speech and actions. Thought, speech and actions. So this is to remind him, I am a Brahmana, and it is also to remind other people, you are a Brahmana, you are not supposed to do certain things and you are supposed to do certain things. So this Kshudiram, he was the highest type of Brahmana. He did everything according to the injunctions of the scriptures. And as we mentioned in our previous classes, he had marvelous visions of Mother Sitala Devi. Ramachandra appeared to him. And Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, when he used to chant Gayatri mantra, his chest used to be absolutely, the blood will flow from a lower region to his head. It used to be red. That's why people respected him. He was a great Rishi. That is the idea of Rishihood we discussed. A Rishi, who is a Rishi? A Rishi is called Mantra Drashta, one who discovered a spiritual truth. Later on, the definition of the Rishi came down a little. Anybody who discovers any type of truth, whether it is spiritual or secular, he was also called a Rishi. For example, Aryabhatta, he was considered as a Rishi because he was the what is called vast knowledge of mathematics. Similarly, Charaka, Sushruta and others was considered to be Rishis because they were great discoverers of certain medicines and medical procedures, including plastic surgery, operations, and it was highly advanced. But now we have lost that skills. Now we are rediscovering through modern medicine, etc. That was the idea of a Rishi. But here, this Rishi is a purely a spiritual ideal. And he lived the life of a true Brahmana. And he had tremendous spiritual progress. And God himself was born as his own son. Do you think he will not get liberation with all those things? So that is why he uttered 3 times the name of God. And in our Bhagavad Gita also it says, whichever is the last thought before a person's death, that will determine his future life. So that is why we give the story of Jadabharata. He was thinking of a deer, and that's why he became a deer in the next birth. Now, what was Kshudiram thinking before his death? Only God. What do you think he will become? Only God. God means what? He is free from the bondages of all this samsara. That is a most important point. Now, the description comes. Gadadhar's boyhood. The effect of Kshudiram's death on the family. I will read out a little. Kshudiram's death affected the life of the family in many ways. He had been Chandra Devi's companion in weal and woe for 44 long years. What a long time. It was therefore natural that now she found the world empty without him and felt his loss every moment. Chandra Devi had been accustomed for long to taking refuge at the lotus feet of Raghuvir, and now that the world had no more attraction for her, her whole mind was always drawn in that direction. But the world would not release her till the time was ripe. It gradually drew her back to the joys and sorrows of daily life through her concern for her 7-year-old son Gadadhar and for her 4-year-old daughter Sarvamangala. So you see Gadadhar's attraction. Thus, the sorrow-stricken Chandra somehow passed her days in the service of Raghuvir and in bringing up her youngest son and daughter. After the father's demise, the entire responsibility of maintaining the family fell on the shoulders of Ram Kumar, who had been devoted to his father. Now, there is a related incident in connection with Chandra Devi's this. Later on, this Chandra Devi's Ram Kumar died and Rameshwar died. She had 3 sons, Ram Kumar, Rameshwar and of course Ramakrishna. So Ram Kumar died soon after after his father's death. After some time, he had to come willy-nilly to Calcutta to earn more money. How wonderfully the script has been written. We will discuss later on. So then Rameshwar also died. But after Ramkumar's death, Chandra Devi didn't feel like staying at Kamarpukur. She was brought, she was given a room, that Nahabat. And Holy Mother was also there to serve her. Now what happened? Rameshwar died. Already she was suffering from the pangs of separation from her husband, then Ramkumar, her own son. Normally what we expect is when whoever is older, that person will pass away first. But here Ramkumar passed away. Added to that, Rameshwar passed away. Now what would be her effect? So here comes the incident that Sri Ramakrishna received the news. His elder brother Rameshwar had died. And now he had to convey that news to Chandramani Devi. So he was praying, Ma, please keep her mind a little bit high. Otherwise, it would be too much of a shock. And the other shock was, at least one son is a normal son. According to ordinary people, normal son means not madcaps. But Ramakrishna was behaving in such a weird way. So she was thinking she will keep an eye upon him, and she came all the way. Now that was a worry, what to do. We will discuss in future. She had lots of misconceptions. Hriday was going to poison Sri Ramakrishna, and so many other things were there. So Sri Ramakrishna was concerned what to do. So he prayed to the Divine Mother, and he came, and in a very sorrowful mood, he conveyed this news. She looked at him, Baba, this world is like that. She started consoling Sri Ramakrishna. Instead of, he was preparing to console her, and she started consoling him. But the point is, she was one of the noblest persons in the world. Otherwise, God would not have chosen her as his own mother, like Mother Mary, like what is that? Yashoda, Sri Krishna's mother, Yashoda, and Buddha's mother, Maya Devi, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother, Shachi Devi. These were all not ordinary people. There is a rule that monkeys get monkeys. Only godly people will get godly children. That is the truth. So how great, how noble were these great children, how much of punya, what we call, merit these people must have done, earned to get God himself as their son. So she was a very pure lady, and she started looking upon the whole world as her children, even gods, goddesses. Previously it was reverence for them. I am your child, you are gods. But now I am your mother and you are my children. That is how she used to treat, because her son, only living son, was himself Gadai, God. Okay. But what is most important, the effect of his father's death on Gadadhar's mind. Now we also go through the experience of our death of our father, our mother, grandfather, grandmother, and many other people. What is the effect? We feel sad, we feel bad. Are we feeling bad or sad for the people who died? Or are we sad because we miss the joy of seeing them? We don't care usually for maybe they are suffering, may not be suffering also, may be suffering, but if they are suffering, what should be our prayer? That let them pass away peacefully, let them be free from this pain. Sometimes parents do that, sometimes children do that, but it's very rare. Most often because we miss the persons. This is first few days. Afterwards what happens? We forget. But from a spiritual point of view, what happened to Buddha? He did not actually experience any of these worldly tragedies, which is old age, disease and death, the triple. But the gods had contrived so that he should be able to experience. Otherwise, time is passing. He has to realize God and he has to preach his message to everybody in this world. He was born for that purpose. An incarnation is born not for his purpose, because their birth is not due to past janma karma. They are already liberated. They are born for our welfare. So what happened to Buddha? The gods contrived, they planted a desire in his mind that you have to go and see outside world until he was grown up. And his father never allowed him, because the moment he allows, he was frightened, he will become a monk. So he went outside, and his father, he ordered, only very beautiful, healthy young men and women will appear before him, both sides of the street. But who can thwart God's will? Suddenly, an old man and a diseased man and a dead man. So this is the negative side of life. This is what Krishna in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita said, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Darshanam. We have to see in this life so many negative things in life. What is it? Janma, birth. So for us, birth is a joyous affair. Is it? Sometimes yes, most of the time no. Suppose you come to know that Hitler is reborn again. Would you be happy? Ravanasura is reborn. Will you be happy? So, Mrityu. People, Mrityu also there are two effects. Let us not forget it. Let us extend our imagination. If people whom we love, they die, then we feel sad. But the people whom we consider, we hateful people, when they die, what happens? We become very rejoicing. So always let us remember that both sides are there. But Mrityu is a fact of life. If there is birth, there is also death is a fact. But it is not just for other people's sake. Since I am born, I am going to die. We all know that. And we accept the fact intellectually. But the fact that we forget is that we think death will come only at the end of 100 years. Before 100 years, it's not going. Which young man is going to think death is going to come today? But every day you watch the news, how many young people are babies and small children, either through accident or deliberate murder or disease, they are dying every single day. Do you know how many people die every single day? I had this query when the tsunami took place some 11, 12 years back. So somebody found out from the world statistics. No, every day it is around almost 175,000 people die. And many more births take place. So this is almost equal. Every day is a tsunami day. This is almost like that. Taken plus or minus 10%, it is a phenomena. So this is what is a fact of life. But we ignore that fact of life, and that's why if we want to be spiritual, it's most important to meditate upon death, and especially upon the death of ourselves. And without being convinced of this fact, we are not going to progress in life. What is the point? The point is, if we are not thinking about unhappiness, if we are not aware of unhappiness, we will not be aware of the quest, the desire to be happy doesn't come. This is what Sri Ramakrishna used to give certain examples. A camel goes on chewing thorny bushes and blood is gushing and it is enjoying and thinking the blood is coming from the thorns. Or a dog is chewing a bone, dry bone, and it is getting so much of joy. So, this is, if we don't think of death, what happens is death, disease, etc., old age, etc., then first thing is we don't prepare. And when we are not prepared, when it comes, it is a shock. And we don't want to accept old age, we don't want to accept certain types of diseases, and we don't want to accept, of course, death. But if we accept what happens, interesting, let us question ourselves. Suppose doctor or somebody comes and tells us, within 6 months you are going to die. What would be our reaction to this kind of announcement? Naturally, we become thoughtful. 6 months, because definite. Previously, indefinite. It will come, but we are not sure. But now, doctor has given the warning. It can happen any time before 6 months. Certainly, a human being should become very alert and then plan, what am I going to do? How am I going to die? What is going to happen to me? Some people, they take care and they do that. So what happened to Buddha? Instantaneously he became alert. This is the condition of every human being. So, 2 things he wanted to tell. I want to become free from these 3 conditions. And second, I want to tell that secret to everybody in the world. I want to find out a way how human beings can cross over this earth. This is what an incarnation comes, and he tells. So how can a person become free from birth and growth and old age and disease and death? Only one way. Having a body, we cannot escape. The only way is not to have any body. And if wherever there is a body, there would be also mind. Mind will be there. So the mind cannot be without body. So there are 3 things: the Atman and the body and the mind. So the Atman is pure consciousness. The body is pure unconsciousness, jada, what is called inert. But the mind, it borrows the consciousness. It is by nature inert, but like a mirror, it reflects the pure consciousness, and then it tries to pull the Atman and the body together. And that is what happens. Here is a body. This is called body. Here is the soul, Atman. It is called I. No problem. I is there, body is there, no problem. But here comes the mind, what it is like a glue. Now I am the body. All problems, I am the body. Important point we have to clear in this discussion is, when a person says I am the body, then his Sukshma Sharira also, the mind also knows I am the body. Therefore thinks what happens to me in the previous, next birth, what happened to me in the previous birth. All these several births is only with regard in the context of body only. If there is no body, then your jealousy, your ambition, and your all those things will simply fall. And how do we know? Every day we are experiencing a similar state. When you are in deep sleep, are you ambitious? Are you an officer? Are you a rich person? Are you running after any worldly objects? Why? Are you running after God in deep sleep? Why?
Because the mind and body is separate.
Because the mind is not there. No, body is there. Soul is there. The mind is not functioning temporarily. Therefore, these 2 things will have. If there is no mind, there is no world. If there is no world, there is no problem. If there is no problem, God, who is God? Problem solver. Solution for problems is called God. Since there is no problem, there is no need. So we have to meditate upon death, old age, and try to do our best to prepare ourselves because it's inevitable. So what happened to Gadadhar is like Buddha, he had the Buddha's another point is these are negative experiences, but the goddess also showed him a very positive experience. What was that? He saw a Shramana, a monk who renounced the whole world. Now very briefly, who is a monk? A monk is not one who puts on ochre cloth. A monk is one who in his mind disassociated his identity with body and mind. I am not the body, I am not the mind. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham shivoham shivoham. So that is our goal. Everybody might not have attained that, but that is a sannyasi is one. That is why he renounces his relationships with Purvashrama and all those things only for that purpose. Because all our problems come because of this body identity. Why do I want my mom and my dad? Why do I want my husband, my wife, my children? Is it for their sake or is it for my body's sake? This is the most wonderful thing. And here is an important fact, very, very enlightening fact. Suppose here is a mother and she never embraces her child, always keeps some servant will take care of her and given food, all care is taken, but she never touches the child. Do you know what happens? There will never be any bond between the mother and the child. The moment the child is taken, the warmth and the warmth of the body of the child, and the child also enjoys the warmth of the mother's body, and the mother also even more enjoys, and that glue, super glue. This is called attachment. Yeah, that's what happens. So what is the effect of father's death on Gadadhar's mind? Swami Shardananda's beautiful analysis. He says, it's common experience that nothing makes life so empty as the loss of a mother in one's infancy, the death of a father in childhood, and the loss of a wife in youth. Being more thoughtful and considerate than other boys of his age, Gadadhar never openly gave way to his sorrow out of regard for his mother's feelings. To all appearances, the boy was as full of mirth and merriment as ever. Although he was seen sometimes wandering alone in the Bhutir Khal cremation ground, in Manikraja's mango grove, and other solitary spots. Nobody thought that there was any other reason for this than a boy's natural restlessness. But actually, Gadadhar was becoming more thoughtful and fond of solitude. He also studied the ways of various persons and observed everyone very minutely. So the death of his father had brought definite changes in the life of Gadadhar. What was the first? He became more thoughtful. Why was he visiting crematoriums? What is the speciality of a crematorium? See, that is where we confront death face to face, especially Indian crematoriums. Because many times, even today, nowadays, these crematoriums, the bodies are kept there. Sometimes they used to just to drag them, dogs, cattle, human beings, in the crematoriums. Don't think all only electric crematoriums are there and people are taken there. There are 3 types of these things are there. 3-4 types are there. What people do to a dead body. Do you know that? The first thing is, some people, they do burial. Those who believe the body will have a double on the other side of the world, they do burial, like Christians and also like Muslims. So usually Hindus, they cremate. But only they are not supposed to cremate holy people, monks. So Swami Vivekananda remarks, cremating Sri Ramakrishna's body was what is called unavoidable negative side. So it should not have been done, but they were helpless. A holy person, his body itself considered so pure, so sanctifying. Usually what they do, what we call in South India, samadhi. The word samadhi is literally taken. These souls are in samadhi, including the body, and it gives a special sanctity where people can go and take from their spirituality. That is why anything associated with a holy person is considered to be very holy and sanctifying. So that's why we drink the water with which we wash the feet of holy, Pada Puja we call it, and all those things. So we have got some relics here, and that's why people come, so many people come on first.
Holy Mother, Swamiji, everybody's body has been burnt.
Everything has been ashes, bones, some of the things they used, they are all being kept. Only recently in our Ramakrishna Museum, something belonged to Holy Mother was stolen. Yes, last year or 2 years before, I think it was stolen, and it is now recovered. People have that sentimental value is there. Even I have got even more than other people. For more than 20 years, I carried Sri Ramakrishna's dust, of his feet.
How did we get it?
When I was in Delhi, a brahmachari, I served an old monk, and he was carrying a little bit. So what happened? There was one Swami Vimalananda, Swamiji's disciple, Khagen Maharaj, and this Swamiji, they were colleagues. So Khagen Maharaj's mother, she met Sri Ramakrishna, and she collected the dust of Sri Ramakrishna's feet. When her son became a monk, she gave a little bit of it to him, and he shared a little bit to his friend whom I met. So this sadhu, he went to Vrindavan and he mixed it with Vrindavan dhuli, like homeopathic medicine. And out of that, he loved me, he gave me a little bit of it. So in a small bottle, I was carrying it for more than 20 years. Not 20 years. It happened in 74, 75.
More than that.
No, 65. 65, and I was in Delhi. 63 I joined. So 65 and until 1990 before I came here. So how many years? 90 minus 65? 25 years. I was carrying it.
You haven't brought it here?
No, listen what happened. Then you see, we constructed one temple of Sri Ramakrishna in Alsur. So I thought this is dangerous because I might lose it. So it is better that we put it, and we collected some hair and nails of Holy Mother from one of the disciples who was living in Bangalore. That two sisters who came to Holy Mother for Sister Nivedita's school. They collected, and their brother was there. So I collected those things, put in a silver casket, and put it in the Bedi, that altar for Sri Ramakrishna, put it in the middle, and then sealed it, so that everybody will get the benefit. So you see, the sentiment is there, and it is true. It saves us. Like Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if you eat a little bit of Jagannath Mahaprasad, it will make us instantaneously pure. And I believe in it. Every devotee must believe in it. So I take a little bit morning and evening also. Now the point is, so Sri Ramakrishna's, the effect of this death on Sri Ramakrishna. So this was the negative side he observed. Then he immediately understood. Remember, he had the power of observation as well as imagination. So he observed people die and they do all sorts of wrong things. and in the hope that they will gain more money, cheat people, go to courts, and before they could enjoy anything, dead. So this is life. He observed it, like Buddha observed it. But this is not the only thing. There used to come a lot of holy people, because in those days, we are talking about Kamarpukur. So from North India, when sadhus had to go to Ganga Sagar, you know, this is a huge festival where Ganga meets the sea, is called Ganga Sagar. That's supposed to be very, very holy place. The way is through Kamarpukur. So on the way, they used to go through Kamarpukur. And there used to be what is called pilgrim's place. The villagers must have constructed a small place so that they can stay for a few days, take rest, because they had to walk all the time. Remember, Kshudiram had to walk to Rameshwar, to Gaya, and so many places. So it was the days when there were even trains were very few. Later on, trains came. Holy Mother had to walk from Jairambati how many times? Say about 70-75 miles. She had to walk to Dakshineshwar many times. Sri Ramakrishna had to walk. Now they have traced all those places where he went, where he stopped, in whose house they stopped. And there's a film has been made.
Sri Ramakrishna's
Padachinna, that is it, Padachinna. So, Sri Ramakrishna also started seeing the holy people, and that's where we were coming to that. So now what is Gadadhar's this thing? He became very thoughtful, and he used to visit crematoriums. What was he doing in the crematoriums? He was facing death face to face. This is the ultimate pilgrim place. Everybody has to come. Means everybody who has a body has to come to this place. This is the ultimate place where they will be bid farewell and for the next life. And there, what do you think he was doing there?
Meditating.
Meditate on what? On the ephemerality, on the changefulness of life. That is what some Buddhist monks also, they will go sit in front of a corpse and go on smelling, you know, a horrible smell comes that creates a kind of dispassion. Anyway, we are discussing about what people, Hindus do, 3-4 varieties I said. So there are some religions, what they do, they bury. Hindus, they believe in cremation. But for sadhus, they will not supposed to cremate, supposed to bury and construct a small house which becomes, which is called in South India Samadhi, like Raghavendra Swami, Mantralaya and all those places, because we feel that though they had bodies, but this body is a very pure, holy, sacred body, and it has a power. So we can, that power we can access whenever we want, and it will help, and it is true. Absolutely it is true. This is one way. And for sadhus, another way of doing it is, their bodies are taken, it is called Jala Samadhi, taken and literally in a gunny bag with a heavy stone, it is dumped. And naturally the fish, the tortoises, they eat the flesh, and that is also okay. And that is how fish eats holy people, and we eat the fish, and we also become holy. Very good excuse for eating fish. So this is another way of doing it. Some people, they don't bury, they don't cremate, but they keep it in mausoleums, like Egyptians, mummies, etc. So the idea is, they have an idea, their belief, that these bodies have their counterparts, and if something happens here, same thing will happen there to the counterpart. That's why they do horrible things, like slaves, women, these pharaohs' wives, and lot of jewelry, and even the people who constructed these pyramids, they used to be sealed, living death, because they should not come to take all those treasures and all those things or damage these things. Anyway, there are various ways of disposing the body. There are some others, like Parsis. You know what they do? They keep the dead body,
For the
birds to eat. And in Tibet, you know what they do? They take the corpses. There are some people who carry the corpses and put it on a high rock and break it so that the birds can come and eat them. These all depend upon what a person thinks of the body. Anyway, here the important point is that what is the effect of the father's death on Gadadhar? Definitely he loved his father. So twofold, he became very thoughtful. Thoughtful means what? He is thinking. Thinking of what? The ephemerality of life. On the other side, he was also conscious that there are people, monks, holy people, and as I was mentioning, many holy people used to pass. And immediately after this incident, Gadadhar, without fear, he used to go and mix with them. We will read about it a little bit later on. Gadadhar's behavior towards his mother. What was his behavior? So we see two things. First of all, he became even closer to his mother because he understood as a thoughtful boy that now how much the mother would be grieving her husband's death. And she will never express it in front of her children. So it is his duty to go and make her as happy as possible. So he started staying near her as much as possible. And at the same time, he is demanding, previously is to demand, I want this. In fact, it is, if a child doesn't demand, the mother becomes very unhappy, dissatisfied, because my child demands. Also, that bond, a child thinks, I have every right to demand everything from our parents, especially the mother. Every child has that demand. This is what Sri Ramakrishna later converted into a spiritual demand. Every child, however bad he is, kuputro jayeta kvachidapi kumata na bhavati. A bad child may be born, but a bad mother is never born. Shankaracharya is one of the things he says. So every child has got this tremendous attachment to mother because we grow in her womb, and then for the first few years, it is her looking after us that becomes most important. And then this lifelong bond between the child and the mother is what later on leads to this same person. If he turns to spiritual life, then what happens? He transfers this dependency upon the mother and the love he holds upon the mother towards God, and it may be even a male deity, but the idea is he is like a mother or grandmother. That is the most important point. And that culture, where the bond between child and mother is lacking, for example, among the Muslims, especially the Arabs and others, there, as soon as the child is very peculiar, if you study, you will be astonished. The father has every right. If the child is disobedient, he can kill him. If the son is disobedient, he can sell him as a slave. And do you know that in some of these cultures, how the women are treated even today? They have no rights. In fact, so many people say they have no souls. They are like cattle. I can marry any number of women, I can divorce them whenever I like, and they have to be absolutely pure, and whatever I do, I am free from all those things. And accordingly, punishments have been there, death by stoning, etc., etc. How can a woman be an adulteress unless there are people who are involved? That is why Jesus Christ said, whoever has not committed this sin, let him be the first person to throw the stone. And everybody went away. because they knew, because they were the people. So long as they were not caught, everything went on merrily. But the moment caught, they will abandon that woman because they can turn to some other woman, like that. Society is terrible in the sense of mistreating the low caste people as well as women. And that's why India has gone down. These are the two important causes. That's why Swami Vivekananda said the degradation, degeneration of India is solely due to two reasons: neglect of the masses, neglect of the women. What is the remedy? Give them education. The moment you educate them and they understand, they will come up in life. You have been suppressing. Anyway, our point here is Gadadhar's, there was a profound inner change which he never showed. Outside, he behaved very merrily. Why? Because if he behaves sadly and he was feeling sadness, it will impact on his mother especially, and he loved his mother and he did not want her to be unhappy. So he kept that sadness unto himself and behaved as though very merrily. Second, he stayed with his mother as much as possible, helping her so that she will be relieved of the burden. And when he was near, then the mother also used to, for he had that ability to lift people's mind up from that engage. So naturally she will forget in the joy of her son. And he was also making her spiritual. At the same time, he was meditating and he was also mixing with holy people. This we will discuss it in our next class. Om Jananihim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu.